Good morning, members. Welcome back. So here's a version of Elton I did using 2 heart stones. These are just, the little heart stones you can get everywhere. And I left the shank bare, and while my shank came out pretty good, but I'm going to make an example of this ring. So for whatever reason, if you've invested all of this time into a beautiful ring top, and that is gorgeous, but for whatever reason, let's say your shank didn't work out, you've got a couple of wires that are really out, and they're not sitting together right, you can't fix them, but you don't want to waste all of this. Or for whatever reason you love this but decide you just don't want it to be a ring, you'd rather wear it around your neck. So I'm going to show you Elton Transformer. This works on a bare shank. If I decide I want to turn this ring into a pendant, all I need to do is take my bottom shank wires and carefully bend them back, all the way back. There goes one set. There goes the next set. And then I have one extra one that I can dive into just one or the other side. So now what I can do, you see I have an extra kind of shelving down here that I can utilize. I just patinaed this thing so it's all dirty. But all I really have to do to turn it into a pendant now is, put a couple of jump rings on here or on this side and hang it from a chain. If, these are 18 gauge, so they're probably going to stay, but if you don't want all of these rings right here, certainly you could just turn them up, right? Quickly though, while we're here, if you're looking at this frame, it's not just that you make it into a ring. This is a beautiful frame for a lot of things. So if you turn these shank wires up, you could use this, I think it's called for a bolo tie. You could put nice big chain, ribbon, fabric all through these layers here, belt buckle style. You could do it sideways pendant, jump rings here, and then out to chain and out to chain. And certainly you can hang it, all right? If you look closely, what you should notice is that you also have the opportunity, if you deliberately want to use this for a pendant versus a ring, you see that you can use it for a two-sided pendant. This one's a little big. I'm trying to find a little stone I can squeeze in here real quick and show you. Maybe this one. This one will fit. So here I go with another little stone that I could easily put onto this side and have a double-sided beautiful pendant. Actually, let me put this other one. It's a little bigger. So here, okay? So let's pretend I want to do something like this. I'm going to leave one of these rails to put a jump ring on, and I might stitch it so it doesn't fall back ever. Just a few stitches here, or tie it down, with a couple stitches there after you get your jump rings through, or just tie them together here if you feel like you're going to do the pendant but you're afraid they might pull out. So if I go here with it, let me get my round nose plier. Let's say I'll just put a couple of jump rings there. I've got these 3 wires to secure my stone. I actually have 4 if I want to take one from the top. So I'll just lift this one a little bit, this one a little bit, so my stone lives right there. And I apply the same techniques. I can weave that closed. I can add bead balls. I can add additional curly wires here. Maybe even another tiny small stone right there if you want to, right? Or I can take my plier and I cinch down this stone here, just hold it into place and just do a nice curl on it, cinch it in. Can lift this one and kind of just echo that curl. I'm just doing this as a quick demonstration. I think you get the idea. Use this one and cinch it in right there at the bottom. Just made a little stair step design. Hardened up those wires a little bit as well. And from up here, I can kind of do the same on the opposite side if I want to. I'm going to take one, whoop, and I'm just going to cinch it down, so I'm not going to go too far up. I'm just going to come right here, hold everything, make a small turn, cinches that down. On this side, do the same thing, come up here, raise it slightly. Which way did I turn? To the left. So I'll turn it to the right, just right there at its edge, and it cinches down into my stone. Okay, I'm sure that your imaginations might be going crazy right now, thinking all kinds of groovy stuff that you can do with this. You can put a coil in here. You can put more gemstones in here. Okay, you can put a jump ring on this one, you know, or you can add a wire. You can certainly put a jump ring on this one. Or you can add a wire and build up a veil, right? There's plenty of room to sneak through here and through here with additional wires. So I just wanted to show this to you in hopes that it might cause your imaginations to go crazy and allow you to experiment with, you know, something different. You don't have to put that stone in there at all. If you just want to eliminate these wires because you want to turn this into a pendant and you're going to go do this sideways thing, let me slip this out of here. It's pretty snug. Ooh. Then again, all you do is lay your wires down. Make sure everything is secure. Make sure it's attractive. And then that's it. And then you can chain this off however you want. Okay? You could also probably, if you're daring, since everything is tied up here, right? You could snip the wire. But remember that now it comes from here, so it loosens the one that you snipped. Make sure everything is tied before you dare to snip anything. But if you do dare to snip them, like I will, so you can see, and I'll snip this one, then what you can do with these wires is swing them around to the front and or to the sides, you know. Just make sure nothing moves up here. It depends on how tightly you've got stuff locked down and tied up. But you can swing these out to the sides if they're long enough. You know, you can give yourself a little extra curl if you need it or want it. I'm just making an example that's kind of a little rough and tumble. Just make a little extra curl come off the side here, a couple little extra curls just to fill space. Give you an example, you know, but you can eliminate some bulk from the back here by doing something like this, or if they're long enough, you know, do something prettier than what I did, but you get the idea. You can add a little more something something to the bottom of the design. So here I have two wires on this side. Take them up, making sure that nothing on top moves. If it's long enough and I didn't have all this beadwork right here, I could probably drop a little, you know, tiny little something right there, hammer that out. Maybe I'll just take 10 seconds and do that. And certainly I would have done this before the bead balls went on. Or if you do it after the bead balls, then maybe, you know, you go around them somehow. Like I had a little bare space right there, so I brought it up. I got a little bare space over here. So I'll just bring this up, swing it off to the side. Then I got some extra little wire right there I can play with, right? So let me hammer my tips out like we know how to do. Okay, I did a light hammer on those, just pulled them forward like we know how to do with our pendants. Hammered out the ends. I'm going to give them a quick file, round them off, take my edges off. Certainly I would sand these, the side that faces the front, and then literally, you know, put them back up here and make some more design with them. Let me get them turned a little bit better. I hammered that one and straightened it all out as an example. And just work them down. Make sure they're tied right there, just like you would any add-on wire to a pendant. And remember that we can get the tips to lay down by affecting the back of the wire. So if these tips are a little pointed out and I wanted to lay it down a little bit more, I would actually get here with my plier. No pressure, just hold it out and push this tip down and give slight outward, you know, pull. Not pull, but, you know, just pressure. And then it helps to lay down that tip. Look how gorgeous that turned out. And then I would do the same with this one. Just come right here, give a little outward turn while you push the tip of that hammered section down. And now you have this beautiful little bit to your pendant now, right? This looks so much better than over here. So rather than do that, get daring and try to do something more like that if you snip these wires. And that's gorgeous. So these, I probably should have done them cuter if I were going to keep this, and I'll probably fix them because I'm deciding that I love this. So I'm just going to fix these two wires off camera and clean up my pendant here. But as an example, this is how you also can use this frame, either to recover from a ring gone wrong, but a ring top that you love, or intentionally to capture some big bulky stones in a nice neat way and maybe even go reversible and double-sided with it. So anyway, there you go, members. I hope that you enjoyed that little demonstration. Let me know about live stream. I always take your requests, but to give you something different, I was thinking we'd do this one in live stream, do a double stone capture. It takes a little bit of additional reinforcement here at the bottom, you see it, and then I use the shank wires. You see there's only 5 back here, not 7. It's because I lifted 2 from the bottom to support these 2 stones. So I want to show you these techniques. I'd love to do that in live stream. Let me know how you feel about this particular wrap, and if this is what we want to do. It's currently what I have planned, unless you tell me you want something else. Okay, and to show you what I finally did with this piece, I snipped all the wires, but I didn't snip them in the middle. To make this bail, I favored this side. I snipped them leaving about 4 millimeter here, just enough to turn these ends under. So those are the 2 wires from here, these 2 right here that are just turned back. I snipped one and brought it up as an additional hammered design, and then you saw the 2 curls and the 2 first hammered designs that I did. So now I've left with these 2 wires. I straightened them out just by plier hammering them, you know, just tapped them and worked out all that I could. It hardens them up quite a bit. I got them centered, you know, evenly here, best I could, and I just took a round nose plier and created a small bail. And now I have some options to tie the front of this off. This is pretty stiff, so probably I'll use, you know, a space here or a space here to just try to hook into and tie them off. somehow. So I'm going to lift them a little bit, get them to curl back. I think I can utilize the two first ones. I don't want to leave these hanging in the front of my pendant. I decided to do it this way, and I'm showing you this way as the preferred way, because you know what I could have done is I can leave myself two little loops here, because it hangs better if you can give it a bail for weight. If you put your rings in the back, it tends to fall forward because it won't after it sits on the chest, but as it's dangling there, the weight of the stones is going to pull it this way. So if you can get your bails on top using these wires here from the back, that's the best way to do it. And I'm probably just going to squirrel in to these two little areas down here that I've got and just curl my tips in and try to lock down into that frame. The wire is super hard because we've work hardened it in several ways through its lifetime. I'm going to try to scroll it right in there. See, I don't like the way that looks. I guess I could just leave them up top here. So the tips are in here and right here, and I have this small space for a bail. That's not going to stay. We have to either wrap that whole situation. I probably would because the wires are rough. And I probably would take these two loops right here from the first pair that we cut and make sure to grab around each of these bail wires in an attractive way so that they don't shift. So just by a couple of little loops right there. Your wire's rough. It's going to require resanding, certainly, because we're undoing and redoing a lot of these. Oop, this one didn't hook in. A lot of these wires from the shank. Ooh. Get it into a little space right there. And then get this guy to wrap around and lock down. It's muscle, and it's reworking, you know, wires here, right? I would definitely sand all that. I would probably take and weave some of that or put some 28 gauge or some wraps on it if you can't get it clean enough. But they're super hard. They could probably stand on their own as a bail if you can get them cleaned up enough. All right, so that way now, when I put my chain through here, this entire pendant should hang a little better. You could probably make those a lot shorter too. Just give yourself a small little loop down there instead of this big bail. If you're going to use a small chain. If you're leaving room for big rope or weave or anything, then make them this big, your 1/2 inch bail. Okay, so that'll allow that to hang a lot better. I think I prefer you try to do something like this, but you could do rings, but just keep in mind that, you know, you want them to balance the pendant out. So, beautiful. All right, you guys, I hope you like that, and I'll see you again. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the finish of this. I went ahead and cut all the wires from the shank, but I didn't cut them all down the middle, right? In the middle. I favored, for the bail up here, I favored one side with length and cut them, leaving this side with just about 4 millimeters so I could wrap them back and lock them in. Then I took the rest of those two wires and gave the length to this side so that I can make a little coil bail up here. You don't have much, but the bail that you can make, if you can make a bail on the top, this entire pendant will hang better, and you know, it'll hang good if you put them out to the sides too, but it tends to favor a forward fall because of the weight if you put your rings in the back. So just know that. You put it on a heavier chain and try to balance it a little bit more. I went ahead and hammered up one to eliminate it. Remember, these were the first two we did. I just did those crazy curls, the very first two. And now I have my last two. I just used my plier to straighten them back out. They're pretty unattractive. They're pretty munchy now. I've done this a couple of times. They're very hard now. And I just get them nice and straight again. The easiest bail that you can make from this is simply to coil them down and give yourself a big coil bail on top. So I cut them evenly. I'm going to get my bailing pliers. I'm probably going to choose something that I know my chain goes through, either this one or this one, 3 or 4 millimeter, 6 or 8 millimeter. So I'm going to go with this one right here. I'm just going to put it at the very end. I'm going to hold everything, and I'm going to turn my wires. When they meet each other, just like that, I'm going to just part them, the tips, so that it coils past itself, right? Just like that. Put your plier back on it and continue to coil down. Let those tips roll out. Try to get it all in the middle. Okay? Don't worry about the tips looking at you until you, you don't know how much length you got. So I usually just do that. I make sure that they're stable. You're probably going to have to do some tying here because it'll lift up a little bit. So I would probably go ahead and try to use those 2 loops, or, you know, coil the whole thing. But when you get it the way you want it, just going to get it nice and even, and then I'm going to snip the ends so that they're not looking at me, right? So just be real careful that you don't snip any other wire, but take it back so that those ends are not facing the front. I usually clip it right about here. Just like that. Come over here and take this one. Better to take in small snips. I look at the front. Am I happy with that? Can I cinch these 2 sides back in without interrupting anything as far as where my chain goes? And I think I can. So I think I can do something like that. Then I'm going to just stitch some 26 gauge in here to make sure it all stays down. I decided to use some 26 gauge. I might have grabbed the 28 now that I'm looking at it, but it doesn't matter. 26 or 28. And I'm just going to do some fine wrapping to these 2 wires to clean the look up a little bit, make it look like it goes with the rest of the pendant. My snips look pretty good. I'm just going to tuck them in there. I'm getting a couple of wraps on those ends. This wire is super hard for all the work hardening we did on it, so this coil isn't going to pull out. We just have to worry about keeping it landed on the frame. But I'm just going to stitch like this, make it attractive. You might have to tap to get your wires kind of level as you go. Like I said, they're pretty rough and tumble because they used to be shanks. We've made them into a lot of things. Their last transformation as a bale here. Okay, so I finished wrapping the bale. I went ahead and pushed it down to make sure it's laying against my frame nicely. There's that one first little curl. I unraveled that other little curl because rather than tie it with small wire, we can make sure that this bale stays locked in by using one of the other cut wires and just literally going around once, and let's lock it down with this. So I'm just going to come around here as cleanly as I can. I'm going to make just that. And I'm going to cut and tuck a nice clean end right there into the side. So right here is my cut. Oh, get rid of that little fragment. Here's the end of my cut, and I'm just going to turn it in right there. Ooh, it's tight, and the wires are super hard because we've done all kinds of work, but that's all you need to do to make sure this bale never lifts up, right? So now I'm going to repatina this whole thing and polish it back out and get rid of my little leading guy here. Make sure that nothing scratchy is going on back here, and it's not, shouldn't be. But if it is, you can take a little sandpaper to it. Let me get rid of this leading wire. And that's it. So now we have this beautiful pendant. Woo! Congratulations. All right, let me get a chain in here. And that hangs nicely. Kind of looks like a little pumpkin pendant even, but in our own way, in our own perfectly twisted way. Okay, you guys, much love. I hope you enjoyed Elton Transformer. Give me questions if you have them, and let me know with thumbs up or comments if you enjoyed this little video. I'll see you next time. Much love.